Thank you for tuning in to another episode of For the People, by the People with your host, Levi. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at GodfatherXUSA. You can follow my guest today, John Caleb, at JohnXCalebTattoo. He also is involved in the underground rap scene. His Instagram for his rap artist is at LiferOC. Today we talk about how he went from an apprentice scrubbing the floors to owning his own tattoo shop and getting involved in the underground rap scene that has some doors opening up for him that are pretty big. This is episode 5 with John Caleb. So today we have my friend John Caleb, aka Lifer. How you doing today, John?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man, thank you. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I am from Orange County, California. I was raised in a little city called Garden Grove, kind of over by Disneyland. About 5 years ago, I moved out of Garden Grove into a city called Orange.
So you moved to Orange, and you own a tattoo shop called Chapter X Tattoo in the city of Orange. How did you get into opening up your own shop? How long have you been tattooing, and what made you want to open up your own shop?
All right. So rewind about 11 years ago, and I was working at Home Depot. I was already married, and I was sick and tired of clocking in, doing like the normal 9-to-5 stuff and just corporate America stuff. It was never really anything I enjoyed. I started working when I was 15. I got a part-time job at Disneyland on a work permit, dude.
Oh, really?
And before that, I was, I'd get dropped off at my grandma's. I would take her lawnmower and I'd go mow people's lawns, 12, 13 years old, dude, just hustling money.
Yeah.
So anyway, growing up, my uncles, they ran the street a little bit. They knew how to tattoo. They were using homemade machines and they were tattooing like all their homeboys. So just seeing like them getting tattooed and them tattooing their friends, and both of my parents as well had a lot of tattoos. Just seeing them and being around that, I've always been like naturally drawn to the tattoo world. I've been drawing since I was 5 years old or something. But yeah, man, after Home Depot, like I started getting tattooed. I had friends that were tattooers in a shop. I was like, man, you know what? Like, I can draw. I want to try and give this thing a go. I actually, at Home Depot, the girl that worked like the hot dog cart out in front of the Home Depot, she starts talking to me, oh, you should try and tat. Yeah, well, I've been thinking about it, And she's like, well, my husband does tats and he can get you a kit. And I was like, oh, shoot. She's like, give me $80.
Okay.
And we'll get you a kit, a tattoo kit. And I was like right on,
Yeah.
So I give this chick $80, and like I never met her husband, never seen the dude. So I give this chick $80. She could have been hustling me for all I know.
Right, exactly.
So I give her this $80. I hear nothing about my tattoo kit. It wasn't until like a month and a half later, homie pulls up in this little bucket.
Oh God, okay.
And she's like, oh, my husband's here, and I'm like, hopefully he's got my tattoo kit.
Right.
So homie jumps out and he's like, hey, here's your kit, bro. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm looking at. And he's like, you want to learn how to tat? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, well, come hang out at my shop. So I'm from Orange County, and this dude has a tattoo shop on Crenshaw Boulevard, dude, in LA.
Ooh, okay.
Like in the thick. I go out there, hanging out. There was no like, hey, you're going to do an apprenticeship, or like, he was just like, I'm just going to teach you. And I was like, okay, like, because that was the thing, bro. Like, I had a lot more pride back then. I didn't want to scrub toilets, and I didn't want to work for free. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You kind of have to humble yourself to get to that point. So I had a little, like an attitude back then, So I was like, yeah, I'm going to learn how to tat from these dudes and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, after, a few months of that place, dude, that place was wild, bro. I'm talking wild.
Oh, man, I can only imagine.
Dude, I've seen some stuff that I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. I had my homies coming from Orange County up there to get tattooed by me. And, bro, it was just like, yo, jump in the chair and do some walk-ins. And I'm like, I don't even know how to set up my machine properly, bro.
Right, yeah, exactly, man.
And you're going to have me tattooing these walk-ins? And he's like, yeah, bro, they don't care.
Oh, man, so they just threw you into it.
Yeah, I was like, shoot, okay. I mean, I guess. After a few months of that, dude, I was like, man, my homies were like, yo, dude, what are you doing up here? After a few months of that, man, I had an epiphany, I guess you could say. And I was like, man, if I want to be a successful tattooer and do this the right way, I'm going to have to seek out like a better apprenticeship. I put all my stuff away. I said, I'm not going to touch this, man, out of respect for like the industry and for like my friends that tattoo. I put all my stuff away. And I started getting tattooed by this dude named Steve Soto over at Goodfellas.
Oh,
And,
okay.
And yeah, man, I started getting tattooed by him.
He's a pretty well-known tattoo artist, right?
Yeah, he is. In the black and gray world, man, he's you know, he's up there.
Right.
He's one of the pioneers of that whole kind of style, that Chicano, like West Coast Chicano style, you know?
So he started tattooing you?
Yeah, so I went and started getting tattoos by him. And because that's what my buddy that was a tattooer, this is kind of weird, man. I had friends that tattooed, but they didn't want to apprentice.
Well, why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if it was just like they didn't take me serious because we were friends.
Okay.
Or maybe they saw that I was tattooing out of my house or my friend's house, and they thought that, like, you know, they kind of blackballed me. Like, they kind of turned their back on me, which I understand, bro. If you're trying to cheat and go around the apprenticeship, you're not gonna gain anyone's respect that way. It's like jumping to the front of the line, dude.
Right, exactly.
So I went to go see my buddy Turbo, who worked at another shop, and he told me, because I was like, hey man, I want to get some like black and gray stuff, you know. And he's like, dude, you got to go see Steve. And I was like, okay. I go and start getting tattooed by Steve, and in the meantime, I'm still drawing tattoos. I'm still painting and things like that, right? So about a month goes by after I get tattooed. My dad goes and gets tattooed by Steve. My dad mentioned something that I wanted to be a tattooer, like I wanted to start tattooing. And Steve was like, what? Like, I didn't know that. You know, tell him to bring me his portfolio. So my dad, like being who he is, he like rushes home, because I was still living with him at the time. He like rushes home to like tell me the news, you know what I mean? He's all excited, and he's like, Steve wants to see your portfolio.
Gotta love your dad, right?
Dude, Pops is the plug, man. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get together, you know, I had another appointment. So what I was doing was I was booking appointments with this guy a month apart, and I was going to get tattooed every month by him until my sleeve was done. So I took that month and I prepared like a portfolio of all the tattoos that I did, you know what I mean, that I thought were sick. And I literally had one drawing, and I put it in the back of my portfolio. So I'm getting tattooed by him, and I was like, hey, Steve, I brought my portfolio if you want to check it out. And he was like, oh, right on. I'll look at it after, you know? And I was like, cool. So we sit down on the couch in front of his shop, and I hand him the book, and he's like, he opens it up, dude, to the first page. It was like my first tat. And then he like looks at me, and he flips like a couple more pages, and he's got this look on his face, bro, like he's just disgusted, you know?
Yeah.
Dude. And here I am thinking like, oh, this is some dope work. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna pick me up quick, you know? So he looks at me like I'm the plague, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he like flips through them. He's not even looking at them, you know what I mean? He's just like flipping through them, and he's like, you know, like doing one of them numbers. And I'm like, dang, this fool's like dogging me. And he literally closes a book, and he goes, what is this crap?
Really?
Yeah, he goes, what is this crap?
Wow.
I don't want to see none of this. And I was like, oh,
dude,
snap.
how awkward was that?
Dude, I mean, you know, you got to imagine, bro, like you have a little bit of like something's your baby, and you care for it and you love it, and then somebody just craps on it.
Yeah, and I mean, not just somebody, but a well-respected artist too, right?
Dude, and the dude's intimidating, bro. He's like,
right.
You know, bald head, like cholo looking dude, you know, it's like he told me my stuff's trash. And I'm like, yo.
Straight up to your face too.
Bro, like, not even being like, oh, you know, this is kind of not good. You know, like it was just, yo, this is garbage. But then he like.
Oh, that's funny.
He goes, do you have any drawings? And I go, well, yeah, I have a drawing in the back, you know? And he's like, let me see it. So I open it up and I show him, and it was like really horrible. It was like a Reaper that I drew with like red pencil, you know, just kind of quick.
Yeah.
And he was like, you drew this? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, did you use any reference or anything? And I was like, nah, it's just like out of my head. And he was like, see, this is cool. Oh, okay. And he goes, I'm going to tell you what. He goes, you have another appointment with me in a month. He goes, I want you to paint me a piece of flash, 11 by 14, however you want to paint it. But I want it to be all your own designs and your own artwork, and bring it to me and show it to me. And I was like, I took it as like, okay, shoot. Like, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went home. Dude, no joke, man. I worked for 30 days. I painted every single day, whether it was something big or something small, or like, you know, I was working on like a big flash sheet. I painted every single day. I went and bought like a nice little portfolio, and I put all these paintings inside this portfolio. Dude, there was like I want to say there was like 20 paintings in there, dude. This dude asked me for one, and I brought this dude 20. I was trying to show him, like, dude, I am serious, and like I'm willing to work for whatever, whatever I'm trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not asking for anything for free. The month goes by, and I go and see him, and I'm getting tattooed by him, and I said, we took a break, and he flipped through the stuff. And this time he was dead silent, dude. He didn't say a word. And he flipped all the way to the last page. And he closes the book and he hands it back to me. And he goes, all right, let's get back to the tattoo. And I'm like, crap, dude. All defeated.
Yeah, dude. I'm not spending 30 days on all that work.
It's all quiet in the shop. And I just said, hey, Steve, look, man, this is not a loaded question. I said, but with what you saw in my portfolio, do you think that I have an opportunity, that I have a chance? And he's like, I'll talk to you about that later. About 3 weeks after that, we were having a pool party at my dad's house. And I had a bunch of family from out of town. They came in, we were barbecuing. Dude, it was a great old time. Right when we were starting to cook. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a food guy.
Right, yeah, that I know about you.
What are you trying to say, dog?
Nothing. Go ahead.
I'm definitely a food guy. So
hey, so am I though, so.
Bro, food is a good thing, man.
Bro.
It's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
I've just accepted the fact that I am going to be a big dude no matter what.
Bro, you're a big boy.
It is what
but
it is.
I'm a big boy, too. I weigh 260 now.
Bro, I'm sitting about 255.
Ooh, nice. So we some big boys then.
So check it. My phone rings. My dad's house. I get a phone call. Number that is not saved. And I pick it up and I'm like, hello. And he's like, yo, this is so-and-so over at Goodfellas. We wanted to offer you an apprenticeship or like a shop help, they called it. He's like, you don't have to come today, but we would like to meet with you on Monday and we can discuss like the process, how we get started and things like that. And I said, okay, man, no sweat. I hang up the phone. I went around my barbecue. I told my whole family I love them. It was great to see them for the few minutes that I did.
Right, yeah.
I got something that I have to go and do.
So you took off there? I
took off, dude. I dropped everything that I was doing and I went to the shop like immediately. And I was there within like 20 minutes, dude, ready to work. And I show up and the boss wasn't even there. Steve wasn't even there yet. So I pull up to the shop and the dude's like, the guy that called me was like, hey man, like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm ready to work, bro. If this door opens a smidge, I'm going to kick this thing open. I went and grabbed a broom and I started out in the parking lot because in my head, I'm thinking, if a client or a customer is coming in and the parking lot's dirty, dude, and this truck pulls up behind me, right? And I'm like, oh snap, like on me,
Right, yeah.
And it's Steve and he hops out and he goes, hey man, what are you doing here? I'm ready to work, Steve. And he was like, he kind of looked at me like, and like, tilted his head kind of to the side, like, huh? And he kind of like shook his head and was like, all right. And he went in and did his business. He got back in his truck and he split. I believe in divine interventions. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to be out of town. He wasn't even supposed to be in town. And I'm out there sweeping and homie shows up and I'm out there working when he didn't even ask me to come in. You know what I mean? So like, I felt like just all these things just kind of fell into place, Yeah, man. From there, he was like, "Yo, I wanna give you a shop help, program. It's basically like, however hard you work is how fast you'll get through this process." I told my lady, we didn't have any kids at the time, so it was a little bit easier. But dude, it was still difficult, man.
So it worked out to where your dad met the right person, got you in a shop, you paid your dues for months. So then when did you get into tattooing? Did you finally get past the apprenticeship and you were able to tattoo at his shop? Because I want to know how the transition from going from his tattoo shop to the story of opening your own shop.
Okay, so when I started tattooing, I got done with my apprenticeship at 10 months, and I was at least supposed to do 1 year. So because I went full time there, it cut off like 2 months of me having to do an apprenticeship. I did my first tattoo on myself. I had all the dudes standing around me to like watch me scrub the floors to like doing tattoos in this shop. And then he was like, all right, I want you to tattoo somebody else. So I brought my dad in. I had some friends from my neighborhood that I grew up in. And they didn't really care what their tattoos looked like. They just wanted to get covered. All black logo stuff. That's all I was allowed to do. So I was doing SRH logos. I was doing Cottonmouth King logos, bro.
Get out.
KMK logos, dog.
Oh, man.
But I had to do whatever I had to do. Like, I didn't care
fair
what
enough.
I didn't even care if it was a mud flap girl, dude. Whatever.
Oh, God, yeah.
You want it? Let's go.
So you're like this straight edge dude giving out the most ironic
bro. It was tight.
stoner tattoos.
Yeah, dude, it was tight. I'm doing good at tattooing. I'm building a name for myself. I'm getting recognition and this and that. I want to open a tattoo shop. So yeah, man, I started looking for buildings. So I had about 10 places I was looking at, bro, and I was meeting with the city. I was meeting with realtors and like all this stuff. And dude, they all started falling through. And I was like, dude, this is not looking good. Randomly, I heard about a shop that's in the Circle in Orange. And I heard that the owner basically locked the shop up and he just threw the keys like into the shop and abandoned the shop basically. So I reach out to this dude and I'm like, hey man, I'm interested in the shop. Like, is it for sale? You know, long story short, bro, I ended up swooping it from him. That was the start of Chapter X basically.
So how long has Chapter X been around then?
We just passed our 5th year, man.
How stoked are you on that?
It's been a real wild ride, man. I'd like to say I love it. I mean, I love the fact I have a shop and I love the shop, but it's changed me a lot. You know what I mean?
Changed you how?
It's also been a headache at times because you go from being a tattooer, you have tattooer buddies, and then all of a sudden you're the shop owner. I don't run my shop like I'm not a dictator. Like, I don't micromanage. My guys can pretty much do what they want to do, as long as they're being respectful to each other and the shop.
Exactly, man. So you're a straight edge kid, hardcore kid, just like myself, growing up in the scene. So you are now getting into just rap, right?
Yeah. So I've been tattooing 10 years now. I've always been into music. I grew up in music, in the music scene. My dad was in bands. I've always had a heart for music. When I was a little kid, I used to rap so it's always been a big part of my life. I just was naturally drawn towards hip hop and rap. You know, for the last 10 years, I've been wanting to make music, but the timing was just bad. I was too busy with my apprenticeship and working at the tattoo shop, learning how to tattoo and traveling and raising my son, my first son. I feel like now is the time that I can give a little extra love to music, because ultimately, like, I have fun making music and I love making music, but at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to create a better life for my family and for my children. And that's why I even wake up in the morning every day, is to better myself for my kids and my family and my name. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man.
So,
yeah.
But I feel like right now I'm in the very early stages of, like, there's some big people and they're watching me.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it's cool to see, like, kind of like your story. You have a good support system. You have your dad, your mom, your wife who supports you. And people, they don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. Like, you've done so much to get to this point. Like, throughout this podcast, like you were saying, you know, you started at whatever jobs you could. Home Depot, you got fired there. You scrubbed floors. You were an apprentice. You opened up your own shop, and, you know, you had people supporting you, and there you learned a lot of ups and downs. You learned how to be a businessman. You learned how to be a friend, but you also learned how to, you know, tell people no. It's just cool to hear your story, man, because, like, people just expect everything to fall into their laps nowadays, but they don't know the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. So I'm really excited for you, man. And I think especially these people you're talking about who are looking into you and you're as an artist, you know, they're not going to do this to people who aren't genuine. So that's pretty cool to see, man. So let's end this podcast with, I have one last question for you, is who, if you don't mind me asking, who's the most famous person that you've ever tattooed?
I mean, I'd say most famous, it's probably Travis Barker, my dog.
Drummer of Blink-182.
Drummer, Blink-182, music producer. The dude is just an all-around beast, man. Clothing company owner. Like, yeah, Travis Barker's probably the biggest.
I want to know about that story. Like, how did he just come to your shop? Did he hit you up? Like, how did you guys meet?
Are you ready for this?
I am ready.
Pops, my dad is the plug. I'm telling you.
Dude, that is so awesome.
My dad is the plug. My dad wrote him on Instagram randomly. See, my pops is he's a preacher, and he believes, in faith, and he reaches out randomly to these celebrities or these big people, like big name people, and he just says, hey, if you ever want to get tattooed in the Orange County area, let us know.
Nice, man. So he reached out. He DM'd
he said,
Travis Barker.
He said, check out John X Caleb Tattoo on Instagram. Let me know. And dude,
then what happened?
So through another friend of mine, I got hooked up with Yellow Wolf, and I was tattooing Yellow Wolf in the dressing room at the observatory, and Travis Barker walks in the door. Boom. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, you're John Caleb. And I go,
Dude, were you stoked or what?
Bro, I was, because I grew up listening to his music, bro.
Same here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, yeah, man. He goes, dude, I'm a huge fan of your work, bro. And I was like, I looked at my dad and I looked at him and I was like, thank you. Like,
yeah.
He said, I don't know, like your style is so distinct. Like, I dig it. I would love for you to do some artwork for my brand.
Dang. Which brand?
Like,
Famous. What is it called? What's the brand called? Famous Stars and Straps?
Yeah, he's got Famous Stars and Straps, So, but anyway, I asked him, I go, hey, Trav, like real quick, how did you hear about me? How do you know me? You know what I mean? I'm curious. And he goes, dude, some dude wrote me on Instagram.
Some dude in his pops.
Some dude wrote me on Instagram, dude. And I turn it, I look at my dad.
Oh my God.
Beat red, dude. And he's got this smile from ear to ear, dude. And he's just like, because, dude, I asked my dad later. I said, dude, what were you thinking when you sent the message? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I just prayed. He just said, I prayed. If it's his will, like it'll get through, And it did, dude. And that's how I met him, man. And,
wow, that's awesome, dude. And then you tattooed him.
Yeah, I did some tattoos for him. I drew some stuff for his brand. I mean, I visit him at pretty much all the local shows that he does. It's like I'm a part of the family, bro. And that's one thing about Travis is like that he is such a genuine person. You know what I mean? Like, dude, he invites me to his kids' birthday parties, even though his kids are older than mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, it's crazy. I feel really like at home, when I'm with that dude. So,
dude, that's so cool. And you're a man of faith, and your father, obviously. What do you think one of the biggest things you've learned in life throughout your journey here? Because I feel like you have such a fun story of kind of like, breaking out of the norm, breaking out of society, going against the grain. I have, kind of the same concept. I never wanted to work a 9-to-5. I just forced myself to be creative. Thank goodness I had people in my life that also supported my dreams. So, like I was saying, being a man of faith and everything, what would you say that your biggest lesson in life, what would you say to like people listening in, just maybe someone going through a hard time that maybe wants to give up on their dreams and everything? What would you say to them?
The biggest thing that I could say is to believe in yourself, not to be cliche, but like if you have a passion and you have the drive to do something, like don't listen to the negativity, don't listen to the haters, don't listen to anything, like go with your gut. For me, I could say, being a man of faith, it's not my gut, it's God. I feel like if I take a step to the right and it's not the right step, he kind of slaps me back into the center. You know what I'm saying? Or he'll kind of guide my head. It's like when my son was small, I could put my hand on his head and I could kind of guide him, walk around obstacles and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. It's like I feel like God just got his hand on top of my head. As long as I'm being, you have to put forth that effort, dude. And as long as you're putting forth that effort, you're going to be all right. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man.
Don't give 50%. You know what I'm saying? Give it 100%. I did it with my apprenticeship. I did it with my tattoo shop. And now I'm doing it with my music. Everything I do, I take very serious and I give it my all.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, and I've known you for quite some time, and you're an awesome dude. I appreciate that you're a great father, a great businessman too, and I'm really excited to see what your career goes in the whole rap world, dude. So thank you for taking the time out of your day, coming on this podcast for the people, by the people, and I'm sure we'll talk soon, man.
Man, I'm honored, and I appreciate all the support, man, over the years, and like I'm stoked, dude. So let's go.
Let's go.